Hey Thrive Loud listeners, this is Allie.
This is Kayla.
And this is Kelsey. And we're the trio that really gets things done here on Thrive Loud.
We have a great episode coming up today, but first we need your support.
For starters, please subscribe to Thrive Loud on either iTunes or Overcast.
If you're an iTunes listener, give us a rating and write what you like about the show.
And if you're an Overcast listener, make sure to click that little gold star to recommend our show.
If you want to learn more about future episodes, upcoming guests, and other great things happening with Thrive Loud,
go to thriveloud.com and fill out the Get Connected form at either the top or bottom of the page.
Thanks again, and let's get on with the show.
This episode is brought to you by Hinge Consulting. If you're doing business on Amazon and you need to overcome the obscurity of that marketplace, Hinge Consulting will lay out the game plan that works best for your business. HingeConsulting.co. Success hinges on well-executed strategies. Hinge Consulting delivers on them.
Now I'm getting really excited. Okay, this is the part where we're going to get loud.
Holy crap, here we go.
I like telling stories.
I learn best through experiences.
Everything I do is because of everything I did.
Talk about having maximum impact while having a ton of fun.
When you can net through that, what you do leave behind for your listener will have more impact.
Wow, bring it on.
It's time to take an inside look at those that are taking their lives, their businesses, and their passions to the next level. Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. Today on Thrive Loud, we bring you a gentleman who has been working with dozens of companies from BuzzFeed, SoundCloud, Greenhouse, and Vimeo. He is the founder of Gray Scalable, a company we'll sure to be discussing on this call. And wonderful gentleman that I think you're all going to like, Thrive Loud listeners, Charlie Gray. Charlie, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for the great introduction.
It was really very simple. I just read part of your bio. I just kind of. So what we love to do on Thrive Loud, Charlie, is to make me stop talking and hear the amazing people like yourself tell a little bit about your story. So if you could, with the Thrive Loud listeners, share a little bit about your journey, more recent journey, I guess, on how your business career has led to you starting Gray Scalable, and we'll jump from there. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Right, awesome. The ball's in your court.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm a career HR professional. I have grown from managing recruiting organizations to managing HR and people operations for companies big and small. I've always had an entrepreneurial drive, and only realized about 5 years ago how I could translate my HR experience into my own business, which until then were hard to kind of put together. But so that's Gray Scalable. That's what we're doing.
That's what you're doing. So have you been on both sides, as so to speak, in the people business, both the buy and the sell side of recruiting?
Yes. I started my career in a recruiting agency, as many people do, but not for long. I spent most of my career, 20 plus years, managing things internally at companies, and that's actually that's the magic of our business. Almost none of us here are agency people. We're all internal HR and recruiting professionals who are providing that type of service, but as a third party to our customers.
So in understanding what Gray Scalable does, why do companies need to be looking at hiring what I think is called a CHRO, right? That is the line of work that you guys focus on.
Yeah, that's part of it. I think, as companies grow, it becomes more and more important to have someone in the organization whose key responsibility is to look out for the well-being of their employees, and their growth and development, and their productivity and organization, all those things. So we help companies at every stage of their growth. So if they're a small company that's really just a couple years in, there's probably some basic things they could do, like putting together their policies and having an employee manual, and understanding what to do about people who date in the workplace, and just kind of basic questions. And as they get bigger, they need more things. They need to train their managers. They need to understand their values and be able to communicate them. They need to start hiring people that are much more competitive. So we offer services that, sometimes suit a 25-person company and can be scaled to suit a, 700-person company.
So here's a good question that I always love, because I love people that have come from understanding the inner workings of a large organization or small, and are able to take those lessons learned. What was the impetus for you that said, I wanted to start my own business and focus on niche? Was there a need that you saw, or was it just you felt this was something that you've always wanted to do?
It's funny. I think my answer to this question changes over time. And it's really a few different things. I had a series of jobs that were all pretty short time. Like after a long stretch at Google, I worked for 4 different companies in a period of a couple years. So when you do that, you kind of recognize a pattern to those jobs, because in each case, I was the first time head of HR for that company. So I knew, what are the first things you need to do when you join a company and need to do that. So I had seen this kind of vision came together of how you could package together those services repeatedly. Also, I was more and more inclined to want to have my own business and more driven to do it. So I think that drive is really what made it happen. But the recent experience, of course, made it possible.
So from the seat that you sit in, what do you see are some of the biggest challenges that your clients are facing from an HR perspective?
Well, one that, we're in the tech space with a lot of startups. And so just talent is competitive. So recruiting is a challenge at virtually all of them. So that's a lot of what we help with. Another thing that they often need help with is just kind of leveling up their management ability. We work for companies that have many people in management positions who've never managed people before. So they need to learn how to do that. It's not just something you tack onto your job without thinking it through. So we help them kind of make those people as good as they can be so they can, advance the company, protect the company, et cetera. So those are 2 key areas we try to solve.
It's really interesting because I deal with a lot of HR divisions of companies, because I end up coaching and consulting a lot of businesses, and it's mostly from the sales and development side of the house. However, when it comes to, I've dealt with other colleagues of mine that are dealing with coaching. One of the problems that I've heard, and I want to get your opinion on this, is that sometimes the actual coaching function, which is to help a lot of growth within an organization, sometimes resides within HR. And some people feel that might be a problem, as opposed to it being its own separate function. Well, just your own personal take on that, because it's become, specifically a lot of these fast moving companies where coaching is very prevalent. Obviously, you're on the West Coast. I know that's something that's there. I'm just curious to know your 2 cents on that division of where things are.
Yeah, it's a great question. I do believe that a head of HR at whatever size company should have some ability to influence and persuade other executives at the company about their behavior and their, whatever they do. So I think there's a level of coaching that's really an essential part of that job. However, I do know, I'm well aware of the school of thought that, effective coaches need to be a third party, so they don't have any kind of internal bias. And there's truth to that. I think if there's extensive formal coaching going on for an executive or an executive team, that is probably best managed by a third party. But there's always going to be some internal component of that as well, and that will generally fall to the head of HR or the senior HR team in a larger company.
So here's a great question, which I know must be bugging you. Like you say, getting great talent is always a real challenge for a lot of your clients. How do you get your talent? Because that's also probably one of the biggest challenges of how you find great people.
You're absolutely right. That is our own challenge for growth. That's our gating factor. We not only need to find people who are great talent for who would potentially be great client for any candidates for our clients, but they also have to be ready to kind of manage multiple companies at once, work independently, and really help us, build a new model here. So yes, finding the right people for my team is super hard, but it pays off. There's now a couple dozen of us, and it's a phenomenal team. And that's, when it comes down to it, that's our core. That's our business right there. Is that talent we have on our team.
So do you feel that you have a certain leadership style and that you want to share with the Thrive Out listeners that you feel has been working since you started the company? I know 2012 was when this started. So we're entering year 6, right? For your business.
That's right.
Cool.
I guess my leadership style has always been a relatively hands-off approach. I don't believe in micromanagement. It just doesn't interest me to get too much into the details of everyone's work. I like to think bigger than that. I like people who work for me to think bigger too. So I like to give them some space to develop themselves and their roles. And I prefer to just manage around the boundaries of that. So I tend to hire people who want to work independently and don't require a large degree of oversight, because it's just not something I'm very good at providing. So yeah, we have a highly self-managed organization in some ways. Yeah.
So what do you think? This is a question that I ask a lot of people, Charlie. As a leader, look, you're thriving. Your business is doing great. You've got growth. You continue to see, to take on challenges and find the great people to make your company great. When you are having trouble thriving, who do you turn to personally to get back on the thriving track?
That's a good question. Well, we're a company of HR consultants, so I have some members of my team who are great at this. Like, they're excellent coaches, and they really understand, what drives people. And some of them I've also worked with for years, even before they joined me here. So I have a few people on my team that I can always go to kind of think through any particular challenges, and I do it. And I do it frequently. So there's that. I also have my wife, who's a great, always gives me good advice, even though she's not in the business. She understands it well. She's been married to me for a long time. And I seek out people, in our clients and partners. Like, we work with so many interesting companies with like really impressive founders. So, when I can, I try to get their advice. Or if I'm meeting with someone where they're wanting advice from me on areas of my expertise, before I leave, I'll try to ask for advice on a subject matter that they're experts in, so we can kind of trade a little bit of wisdom there.
No, makes sense perfectly. You use the resources and your network to help all of that grow. Yep. What do you like to do for fun, Charlie? What are some of the work days off? You get the weekend and you have a choice of doing something that you love to do. What are some of your passions that you love to explore when you get a chance to?
Well, as I'm sure you're aware, running your own business, it feels like there's not much of that time off. I'm a musician, as are most members of my family. So we always like to play music, we like to listen to music, we like to perform music. So that's one thing. We're also all skiers, so we like to get out and ski in the winter or hike in the summer. We tend to head for the hills when we can. We also all like to travel, whether a couple of us or the whole family. We've been many places, and that's always of interest. So.
Excellent. I'll tell you, I'm from the East Coast, and you guys obviously have a little unfair advantage skiing out west. It's like there's skiing, and then there's what that is, which is much better. So just know you don't have to deal with mountains in the Northeast over here if you can avoid them on the slopes. There's something called ice, something you guys aren't familiar with.
Oh, I know. But by the way, we were introduced through a connection out west, but I'm a New Yorker like you.
Okay, so I didn't know that. So give a little bit of your upbringing. When did you move out west?
I never did. Oh. I'm in New York now.
Oh, see, the whole guy apologized to the Thrive Out listeners. I had all these California numbers and everything that were here. See, there goes one of the best upsets. Know your audience and know your listeners, Thrive Out.
No, I know why it happened, because we now operate in Los Angeles. We launched and we've been, focusing our press on that because our brand is well known in New York already. So that's why we've given you that perception. But I'm actually based in New York. I always have been.
That's classic. It might go down as one of my favorite moments ever because I did read a lot of things. I'm like, there's Los Angeles, there's this. I'll figure it out.
Yep.
All right, so where do you want the business to go to now? You've obviously been growing, and we know there's multiple offices. So where are you looking to take the business over the next few years? Your vision of where you'd love Gray Scalable to go?
Well, I guess I want to expand in several different ways, and we've been thinking a lot about this as we've grown very organically over the past few years. We respond to client needs and basically grow so we can deliver to them. But we've really thought more strategically over the past year and think there's a few different ways we're going to continue to grow at the kind of 50% or so year over year growth we've had. And one of those is, yes, adding new cities. So LA is our second city that we launched. We're really excited about that. Boston will be the next. So we're looking at new markets. We're also looking at new services. We used to give away executive search when it came to us because it's not our core product, but we're now starting to do that. And that's a huge market. So we can, there are things that align well with the services we provide that we just haven't focused on because you have to make choices. But we're going to choose to do some more of those things and kind of fill out our product suite, so to speak. So there's different services we can offer that we can continue to grow. And we're just taking on bigger and bigger companies. A couple years ago, our average client was probably about 70 employees. And right now, our average client is probably about 200. And that keeps trending up. So I think there's a bunch of different ways we can grow.
So I've always had this last like business related question here before we make it all fun. When it comes to the economy, which at the time we're recording this seems to be pretty good, we have no idea really because everyone's always on edge in how things are. One of the most challenging industries has always been the human resources area because for talented people and jobs. With technology today and the way businesses have been working with such a unique workforce and people moving from jobs so frequently and tough to get the talent. Do you have a take on what you see, whether it's from the economy or where you see the job market going or how your business is going to change as technology continues to adapt, people become more mobile, where you sit in that seat becomes even harder to do what you do, or does it become easier? That's kind of the question I've always wanted to ask as we look at the economy, and I've bundled all that together in one shot for you. Let's see how you handle this one.
Yeah, let me see. Well, the economy's, it's an interesting thing. Like I've been in the tech space for a while, and sometimes I feel like I'm in a different economy than the one that people are talking about.
Right.
Because the economy was pretty bad 8 or 9 years ago, and that's all we heard about. But the tech sector was thriving in a way. So I think it depends on kind of what type of business that you're in. And even now, people talk about how the economy is booming, but everyone I talk to is worried. And being a little bit cautious because, with our current political state, people just don't know what's going to happen next. So I think that has a natural effect on people's confidence about growth. So I'm actually seeing a different thing again than what people are saying.
Right.
I think, that the changes in technology make it more complicated from a people and talent perspective because there's different ways that people communicate. There's all sorts of new problems that people discover as all of their employees get on Slack or other social media platforms and communicate either officially or unofficially. So, new technologies bring new opportunity, but they also bring new risks. And I think since HR people, one of their primary responsibilities is to kind of manage risk. And so it does get to be more complicated. But there's also, of course, the advantages, like, things are more manageable. I have a team that works mostly remote and all over town at different companies, and that's perfectly manageable, mostly because of technology. So, it's just a double-edged sword.
Totally. Give us all the plugs and the correct office locations on where we can find Gray Scalable so that everyone knows where to find you, social media, websites, the places where we can find you.
Well, our office is in Soho, in Manhattan. That is our primary location. We are at grayscalable.com, and that's where you can see online who all our people are and what are all the things that we do. We also have a kind of virtual office in Los Angeles with just 2 people so far. But we're always looking for clients who are interested in growing their teams upscaling their management, putting more data and analytics around their people, and being good partners with us. So happy to talk to anyone interested in talking.
Perfect. And we'll put all the links to everything on social and to the website as well on the show notes, so everyone can check it all out.
Awesome.
Charlie Gray, your all-time favorite movie?
Wow. I'm going to say it's the first thing that came to my mind. Fantastic Mr. Fox.
Well, that is definitely a first. By the way, that is a great movie.
I know. I've seen it several times. It's a really good movie, but it's probably not really my all-time favorite. I had more time to think about it, but it's a great movie.
Anytime George Clooney is the voice of anything, it's always good. So I guess that works out great. But it is a great movie. And that's awesome.
So good.
Anyway, man, this has been fun. It's always great to have great people on Thrive Loud, and we love to hear these great business ideas. And thank again for coming on the show, my friend.
Thanks a lot. It's great to meet you. Hopefully I'll see you in person in New York one of these days.
Absolutely. You'll be seeing me skiing straight down the ice down Fifth Avenue. And to all the Thrive Loud listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with your host, Lou Diamond. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. And follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Thrive Loud. Or find us on the web at thriveloud.com.